On a recent Word of the Week, we looked at the difference between being mute, unable to speak, and having a condition that resulted in a difficulty in speaking. Today we're going to go to another part of your face, and our Word of the Week this week is tuflos. And tuflos means blind, and it is literally unable to see. So think about this with me for a moment. In a pre-corrective eyewear world, quality of vision varies wildly. So at the time that the New Testament is written, in a gathering of people, in any random gathering of people, their ability to see is going to be widely varied because nobody has glasses, nobody has contact lenses. But the word tuflos always means total blindness, a complete inability to see. It's a word that's used for both humans and animals if we look at the extra biblical usage of it. And it's even used about things that don't have eyes. So people would use it figuratively to say, the weather is blind to your hardships. The weather doesn't care that your crops are dying. It can't see that your crops are dying. So it's used figuratively, it's used literally, and in the New Testament, 36 of the uses of tuflos are clearly literal. There are 12 that seem like they're overwhelmingly figurative, and it's frequently used in kind of a transferable way. So when you read it, it's describing literal blindness, but the application is to a spiritual or an intellectual blindness. This is an interesting piece of trivia. Mark uses the word exclusively as a literal description of a blind person. He doesn't use it in a figurative sense at all. So let's start out and look at two literal uses before we go to a transferable and then a figurative. Mark chapter 10, verse 46, this is the ESV with the Koine supplied. And they came to Jericho, and as he was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a great crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind beggar, tuflos, blind beggar, the son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside. Let's jump right in and look at Luke 18:35. As he drew near to Jericho, a blind man, tuflos, was sitting by the roadside begging. So, it happens at Jericho. There's a blind guy in both stories. One names the blind guy, the other one doesn't. In one story, it's when he's entering Jericho. In the other, it's when he's departing Jericho. Is it the same guy? Is it the same story? Is it two different blind guys coincidentally at Jericho? Here's the consistent part of the story. The consistent thing is there's a blind guy who's begging. He has an encounter with Jesus, and when all is said and done, he can see. That's the consistent part of the story. Let us move on and take a look at a transferable use. This is in Matthew 15:14. This is Jesus talking to his disciples about the Pharisees. Let them alone. They are blind guides, and they are blind is tufloi asin. They are blind guides. And if the blind, tuflos, in the nominative case, the subject, lead the blind, tuflon, in the accusative case, the object, both will fall into a pit. So Jesus says, don't mess with the Pharisees because they're blind guides. And blind guides are ill-equipped, because if a blind person is leading another blind person, if one person who can't see is leading another person who can't see, there's a good chance they're going to wind up in a ditch. On to the figurative. This is 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 9, where it says, "For whoever lacks these qualities is so nearsighted that he is blind, having forgotten that he was cleansed from his former sins." So this is a great little phrase. It says, tuflos estin, he is blind, muopadzon, while being nearsighted. So this is what's called a participle of attendant circumstance. So the participle, the action of the participle is happening while the action of the main verb is happening. So it says tuflos estin, he is blind while being nearsighted. So our participle muopadzon is where we get the English word myopia from, nearsighted. In other words, he's so nearsighted that the result is he's functionally blind. He can't see at all by virtue of being so nearsighted. So he's Mr. Magooing his way through this situation and can't even see. He's forgotten that he's been cleansed from former sins. Don't forget where you came from. You can become so short-sighted. You can get so focused on where you are and what's right up close to you right now that you become functionally blind. A purely figurative use of our word of the week. We haven't done homework in a while. I'm going to give you a bit of homework today. Go look at Revelation chapter 3, verse 17, the letter to the church at Laodicea. And then snuggle up with Uncle Google and find out what it was that made Laodicea a rich city. And you'll see something interesting pertaining to the accusation that the Laodiceans are blind. They think they're rich, increased in goods, have no needs, but in fact they're poor and naked and wretched and blind. So take a look at that for your homework, and you'll get an insight into our word of the week, tuflos, which means blind, a complete lack of the ability to see. Thanks for watching. Hope that was good for you. If it was, leave me some feedback in the comments. And until next time, Charis Kairene Humin, grace and peace to you.